I went on a book date with The Poet Empress by Shen Tao, and I have some thoughts. Welcome to After the First Date, the series where I share everything from my book date. As a warning, this is a spoiler discussion. Wow, this was such a heavy book. I actually ended up rating this book better as Friends, which is a book that wasn't necessarily my type, but I'd feel confident recommending it to someone who does like this type. Lady Yin, or should I say Empress Yin, went through so many traumatic things at the hands of Prince Taran, and I honestly thought that she adapted really well to all of the challenges that she had to face, like when she was accused of going to Prince Maro's wing of the palace, recognizing the literacy test, figuring out how to neutralize Hessen's suspicions, realizing that Lady Song was never really on her side, changing the poem at the last minute to save Taran during his coronation trial, and just coming up with answers that weren't completely untrue every time Prince Taran was suspicious of her action. Now, Prince Taran, I had so many mixed feelings about him. First, his backstory was so tragic and sad, and his relationship with Maro when they were kids was so wholesome, and you could tell he really just wanted to be loved. It broke my heart when Prince Maro hit him after he tried to save his life when Prince Maro was building the Salt Road, and then when he said that family is for keeping each other safe. Then for him to be put through abuse condoned by his own mother at the Violet Heron Tower was so disgusting and horrific. It was also so heartbreaking to find out that he was making the protection poem for Maro this whole time, and it was never for himself. None of this, of course, excuses all of the horrific things Taran has done to others, especially all of the abuse that Lady Yin had to endure, but it really did show how much everyone around him had failed him at such a young age. The ending was also really intense as well, with Lady Yin saving him and then Taran feeling a sense of relief and amazement and almost peace, and then her taking his life. I thought it was very poetic that she was able to change the poem to save him, because she was able to love him in a way that wasn't romantic, but just seeing him as a person for all that he's been through and wishing that he had a different life with more love. But then to also feel like this was the conclusion to her own suffering and for all of her friends that she lost because of him. When it comes to survival, Lady Yin and Prince Taran each paid a different part of their soul to survive, and I think it goes to show just how important and formative childhood is, because Lady Yin is so young herself, but by having her family's love really made a difference in how she moves through the world, versus Prince Taran being left alone to try and make sense of the world on his own. The scene at the very end when she saw Prince Taran and Prince Maro's ghosts playing with each other and saying that at least the ancestors could forgive him was really such a nice ending to everything, and I found it very moving. So why wasn't this book my type? Well, I like my fantasy books to have a little bit more magic at the forefront, and I wanted to see her have more magic or be able to use more poems to fight back, but that's just my preference when it comes to magic and stories. I also felt like reading this book was more of an outside looking in type of experience, like a historical recounting. It felt a little bit more like I was watching someone go through their life and just seeing event after event, and the emotional meaning, it's more like I'm putting it into the story, and I didn't necessarily feel like I was in the story with her. Although there was introspection, I just prefer some of these character-driven stories that are heavier and darker to have a bit more deeper exploration. Overall, I think it was a really well-written book, and I do feel confident recommending it to others, but it just wasn't my preferred book type. But anyways, these are just some of my date highlights, and I want to know, how did your book date go?